All right, here we go. Time to start building. So I just did, open up Xcode, file, new project. We got to here. We want to do iOS and then click app. Just gonna do a standard iOS app. Hit next. I'm gonna name this dub grub. And here's what we want to do. We want to make sure the interface is Swift UI, the life cycle is Swift UI, and then the language is Swift. So make sure that's all good to go and hit next. Save it wherever you want. I'm going to save it into my Dropbox, courses, dub-grub, and I will save it in there. And the reason I put it in Dropbox, in case people are wondering, I'm going to break this down by chapter code. So like after every video, you're gonna have that code, saved right to where it's at. So in Dropbox, I'll have like every chapter's code progress. So that's why I did it there. If you're wondering why I save it to Dropbox, not something like GitHub or my desktop. Anyway, that's why. So let me fix my editor here. On the right, I like to get rid of that right panel because when you're in Swift UI, you rarely deal with it. I like to make this small, hit resume. I make mine 75%. Remember my screen's blown up here for the video purposes, so it may look a little weird, but so okay, getting that good. Content view, I usually wait for this to show up. There we go. Okay, we wanna get to the iPhone 12 Pro. We don't want to be dealing with those old phones. And there we go, there's our hello world. Give it a little extra space there. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is go to my project here, dub-grub, click on my target, dub-grub, and then signing and capabilities. So here's where we're going to set up the capability to work with CloudKit, right? One of the first things I want to do. So this little plus button, next capability, hit the plus there. As you can see, you get all kinds of stuff, right? So if you were to use in a different app, maybe HealthKit, HomeKit, whatever, we are going to go with iCloud. All right, double click on that. There we go. Now it's doing its, signing certificate stuff. There we go. And we want to do CloudKit, right? You can see the options of, key value storage, iCloud documents, right? We're not dealing with that in our app. We are going to go with CloudKit. So check that. Again, Xcode's automatically doing stuff. Now we want to have a container for CloudKit. More on containers later when we actually really dive into CloudKit. Right now, we're just setting up the project. So I want to hit the plus button here. You see, add a new container. Here it says, Xcode will create a new container if the named container doesn't already exist. Let me cancel this real quick. You see, one of my containers is iCloud.co.SeanAllen dub-grub beta. This is when I was building, the course out and figuring things out. So that's my dub-grub beta. So that's an example of what it will look like. So we'll hit the plus button again. So if the named container doesn't already exist, it will add it to your app ID and add the new container to your app's entitlements. So Xcode's handling a lot of stuff for you that we'll come back to later when we actually set up our CloudKit dashboard. So what I want to do, I'm going to cancel this real quick because I want to copy my bundle ID, copy yours as well. Don't do co.SeanAllen because it'll already exist because I'm building it right now. So it'll say it's not going to exist. So make sure it's your bundle identifier. Again, back to this plus button down here on containers. I'm going to paste that in there. So co.SeanAllen.dub-grub. Again, that would be your bundle ID, not mine. Hit OK. It's creating it. It's doing its work. Great. Even though it's red, that means it's there. We're good to go with the initial setup for CloudKit. Again, we're going to come back to this when we actually work with CloudKit, but I didn't want to forget to do this right away. Next, let's bring in some assets that we're going to use here, starting with like our app icon. Again, we're just doing the initial project setup. So you see the app icon here is blank. Well, attached to this video, above the description, you should see a folder you can download called Project Assets. If you download that folder, open it up, you're going to see the app icons and some default assets that we're going to use. That's what I'm going to drag into the project right now. So if I Command Tab to Finder, here you go. I'm already in the Project Assets folder. So I'm going to bring over DDG map logo, default avatar, default banner asset, and default square asset. You'll see how we use these in a little bit when we actually start building our UI. But just to show it to you, there's the dub-grub icon. There's our default placeholder avatar. And then these default banner assets are for if something messes up with CloudKit and our images come back nil, we have a nice placeholder image that still makes the app look nice, even if like our network call messes up. So that's what these default images are for. And we're going to use them to prototype our UI. So you'll see that in a few videos. Cool. Now let's get to our app icon here. So back to Finder. And so the app icon folder, I'm going to open up and you see all these app icons here. I'm going to make this a little bigger. So you see they kind of correspond to these like 29.2x3x, 40.2x3x. Well, I used to be able to just drag these on here and they would all like autofill. but like that doesn't happen anymore. So I'm going to do this tediously one by one. Feel free to try to autofill it. See if you run into any image mistakes there. But here's what I do, right? So this icon PNG is the main one. I'm gonna have to make this smaller. Sorry if you can't really see it, just to make this look good. There we go. So this icon.png is the main one. That goes into the App Store 1024. And then I'm just going to kind of go through the list, right? Top left. So I have 20 point, 2x, and 3x. So here, let me find 20 point, and then here I have 2x and 3x, right? So there's 2x, and then here is 3x. Okay, now we're on 29 point, 2x, 3x. So 29 point here is 2x. And you get the gist, right? I'm going to do 2 more and then fast forward through the video because you don't want to watch me do this tedious stuff, but I'll do 2 more to kind of, drive the point home. You'll hear me say that a lot. So next up, we have 40 point, again, 2x, 3x. And everything you need is going to be in here, but make sure you're picking the right 2x and 3x ones. 2x, 3x. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward the video now, but go ahead and finish that up. Okay, now that I finished that tedious work here, we're done with the project assets. We've brought them all in, so we can close out the Finder. You can see all of our app icons are there. We're good to go there. One thing I want to add here is our color, this teal brand primary color that we're going to use. So here in the assets in the lower left here, there's a plus button. Click on that and you can add a color set. Now here's where we're going to add a color both for dark mode and light mode. They're going to be the same color for us, but if you were working on an app where you wanted a color in dark mode to be slightly different, because just the contrast or whatever, you can make your 2 colors here for the appearances. So here we get to name our color. We're going to name it brand primary. And I do this for a reason. I don't name it like teal. Just because if our brand colors change, I just know that everywhere there's brand primary, I make it the new primary color. We'll have like brand secondary as well. So that's why I name it like that. But now we have to assign it a color. So to pick my color, I'm actually going to open up my sketch file because I'll show you basically how I actually do it. And I want to get this kind of teal color here on this lettering here. So I find my color over here on the borders. I click it because I'm looking for the hex code, right? And because my display is so zoomed in for video recording purposes, so it's bigger on the screen, this isn't great, but you can kind of see it in the bottom right, that 009781. So I'm going to copy that, and then back in Xcode, and we're going to click on any appearance, and then we do have to open the right pane here. Click that button in the upper right. Like I said, you do use it, but rarely. And then if I hit Show Color Panel and click the one just from the right, the RGB sliders, you can see I can enter a hex color. I'm going to paste that in there. Again, if you just want to type in 009781, hit return, there you go, there's your color. Now this is what I was talking about, how maybe this didn't really look great in dark mode and I wanted to tweak a little bit for my dark appearance. That's where this comes in. So, but we're just going to keep the same color because I think it looks just fine on both. So again, I just pasted the hex code in there, 009781, hit return, there you go. We got our colors called brand primary. Now, we have that in our project, but I want to create an extension on color so I can easily use that in the code, and you'll see that when we build our tab view. So the first file I'm going to create, if I go into on the grub folder, hit Command N for new Swift file. Next, we're going to call this color plus ext. That's how I name my extensions. Whatever I'm extending, color plus ext. Hit create. And by the way, an extension is just additional functionality that you can add to an existing Swift or Swift UI type. For example, color is a type in Swift UI. So I'm basically adding another color because the default colors are like color.red, color.yellow. Well, I'm going to add color.brandPrimary. So now anytime I would use something like .red, .blue, I can just type .brandPrimary. Just makes the code a lot neater. So here, instead of foundation, I'm going to import Swift UI. And then we're going to do extension color, and then static let brand primary equal, and then we're going to initialize a color here, except you see we're going to have to initialize the color with the name, because the name is what we have in here, right? And just to be super duper safe, let's go to our XC assets. I click in here, get the cursor, copy, and then paste, because this is a string. Whoops, we're in the wrong file. Because this is a string, so I don't want to have a typo, or else it'll be bad, right? So instead of every time I need my brand primary color, instead of just typing this out and risking a typo in my string, now I have the extension on color. I could just do .brand primary, and it'll bring in this color. And again, we're going to build our tab bar right now, so you're going to see that in action. Okay, so in the grub folder, again, do Command N for a new file, because we're going to do a Swift UI view this time. Hit next. I'm going to name this app TabView. The reason I didn't just name it TabView is because TabView already exists in the land of Swift, or Swift UI. So we want to kind of differentiate that a little bit. If you wanted to go even further, you could do like DDG for dub app TabView. I'm just going to be fine with app TabView. Hit create, and okay, get rid of our right panel here and make some room. Resume. Usual, view setup here. Okay, so here is where we're going to build our tab view. We don't want text hello world. We're going to want tab view, right? There it is. Open up the view builder there. You can see on the bottom right here, we have our tab. There's nothing in it. We have to add our various tab items. So our tab items are our views. So I need those views first, right? So for example, the first tab would be like our map view, but we don't have that yet. So I need to create the files, even though they're just going to be like dummy files. I need to create those files so I can have these views here. So again, in the grub, do Command N. We want a new Swift UI view, and we're going to name this location map view. I wanted to be more specific than map view because map view already exists in Swift UI. So we'll hit create there, call it location map view. And again, we're going to create two more files. These are just dummy. This is fine. We can have back on location map view. I can just have this say map view. Again, these are dummy views to get our tab view working. So again, on the grub, Command N, and obviously we're going to expand on these files to like the real views, but right now we're just building the skeleton. Swift UI view, next, call this location list view. It's going to be our list of locations. Hit create, and then same thing on the grub folder, Command N, Swift UI view, hit next, and now we do profile view, right? Those are our three main tabs that you see here on the design. Hit create. Cool. And then again, in profile view, just so we can see this in action, I'm going to type profile. And then in location list view, I'm going to type location list. I need my quotation marks here. Okay, so now back to our app tab view. Now is where we're going to use those three views that we just created. I could have just made mock views here, but we're going to have to create those files anyway. Might as well get it out of the way. So our first tab in the tab view is going to be our location map view, right? And let's hit resume on the preview. Okay, so you can see our first view is the map view, but we don't have any like tab items down here at the bottom of the tab. We have like nothing to tap. So that's where we use the modifier .tab item. And then you can see we have a label here. So we're gonna do a label. And we're going to want title key and system image. The reason we're doing system image is because we're going to use SF symbols. So create there. And this is going to say map. And then if I open up my SF symbols app, by the way, SF symbols, there you go. Free to download. I'll put the link in the description of the video. If you're not sure of it, I'll also put a link to my YouTube video that explains it all. But again, we went over this in Swift UI fundamentals. So again, I'm kind of going quicker here. So here's all the list of like, SF symbols. I want a map. So here's the various stuff with map. This is where you can customize it if you want. I'm going to go with this map outline here. So I'm going to do Command-Shift-C to copy that, or you can just type map. Really don't need to copy that one. That one's pretty simple, but we'll paste that one there. So now if I hit resume on my preview, you're going to see, there we go. There's our map button down there. Now on our tab view, that's blue, right? We want it to be our brand primary color. So our tab view, make sure you're on the tab view. I'm hitting left and right arrows for that yellow thing to pop up. Do dot accent color. There you go. And then now this is the beauty of why we made that extension, right? Instead of like dot red, or I had to, type out brand primary, I can just do dot brand primary, right? We made that extension on color. So now we can use our custom colors just like we can use, the built-in Swift UI colors. So now if you look, we have our brand primary color in our tab view. Great. So now we need two more of those. So I'm going to copy, paste. There we go. Now you see we got map. Not exactly what we want. And we don't want it all to be location map view. For example, we want this to be location list view. And we want this to be profile view. Cool. Now we're showing the different views accordingly. Now we need to update our labels here. We don't want them all to be maps. We want this to say locations, and we want this to say profile. And you can see on our preview, the words change in real time. Map, locations, profile, good to go. Now we just need the right SF symbols to go there, right? So for the location list, I want like some buildings here. So back to SF symbols, type in building. There we go. So again, it's just building. Now they're not all usually that easy to type out. Some you can see building.to.crop.circle. So, sometimes they can get weird, but this is just plain old building. So I'm going to paste that there. And then profile, I just know this one by heart. I'll save some time here. It's just person, right? So you can see now when I type in person, we get that little profile icon. So our basic tab view is set up. Let's actually run this on the iPhone 12 Pro so I can, kind of navigate through the screens and you can see what's going on. And it says hello world, which is not what it should say. Again, I made a mistake here. So we created our app tab view, and I actually do this like every time. I always forget. So what showed up though is our content view. Well, we don't want that. In fact, let's actually delete this content view because we're done with it. We're not even using it. Move to trash. And now you're going to see I'm going to get an error because what's going on here is in the dub app. Well, the thing that actually launches our app was launching content view. We want this to launch our app tab view, right? We got to tell it what screen to launch what we just created. So now when we run it again, instead of launching content view, it's going to launch the tab view, and I should be able to show it to you. Again, common mistake. I do it like every time I create a project. But now you can see our tab down here, map, locations, and you see location list, and I click on profile, clicked on profile. So there you go. That's the initial project setup. We got our default colors. We got hooked up the CloudKit, and we created our tab view, which is, again, the framework, the skeleton, right? We have our map view, location list view, profile view. And the next couple of videos, we're going to start building out the UI, or at least the initial UI, for each one of these views. Let's go.